Hey folks, let's talk about admissions interviews. As a former admissions officer, I interviewed many candidates. I read lots of essays, then interviewed them, and I'm going to walk you through the decision-making process. So what we do is first we get the application, we review the application, we look at the resume, we look at the transcripts, the essays, the references, everything checks out. And now you know there's the new component where schools will ask you to do a video essay. So that's a super handy one, and I'm going to talk about it in another interview, actually, not today. Today's focus is all about the admissions interview. So what I used to do, actually, I used to make a decision. I used to say like, oh, okay, I want to meet with this candidate because I think this person is a really good fit. So from there are two scenarios. First scenario is not the most desirable one. The candidate shows up totally ill-prepared, doesn't provide good answers, not really dressed up, doesn't really respect, and doesn't know anything about the program. So that person, the interview is wrapped up in like 15, 20 minutes because I don't have a lot of time in my hands to interview somebody who's not interested in my program. The second scenario is actually the most desirable outcome. The candidate shows up very well prepared, excellent answers, great research, and proves to me that the person is a great fit. So after that interview can actually go over a little 30 minutes. Usually we allocate you around like 30 minutes to 45 minutes tops. So if the candidate is really, really good, then we can extend that 30-minute mark. So that application, that candidate definitely goes to the admissions committee for a final decision to be made. Now, what is the difference between the candidates? The first candidate I described showed me that he or she is not really interested in the program. This is a safety school and showed up because somebody invited. Now, that's not a good strategy. Here's a working strategy. You get the invitation and you know that you're only 50% there. Getting an invitation for an interview doesn't mean that, oh, okay, I'm getting an offer. They might even give me a scholarship. Yeah, it doesn't work that way, unfortunately. So you still have to do your research. Now, keep in mind, the person who's going to interview you read your essays, read your recommendation letters, looked at your transcript, and she has your resume in her hands. So what do you need to do? Go back to your resume, polish that resume, and know what you're saying in that resume. Do you know how many times I interviewed a candidate, I asked a follow-up question about experience X, and the person looked at me like that was the first time ever heard of that experience? That's really not a very good impression. It tells me that your resume is not authentic. So know what you're saying in your resume and be prepared to provide different examples. Remember what I said? I said the person already read your essay. So now it's your time to shine. Give them some different examples. You need to give them an opportunity to get to know you better. And you can turn it into a conversation very easily because, believe it or not, the interview is actually a two-way street. The school wants to get to know you, but you want to get to know that school as well because you're going to make a huge investment. You're going to invest your time, your money, and your energy in a program. So you might want to get to know them a little bit better before saying yay or nay. So dress for success. That's rule number one. Take it very seriously. This is like a job interview. Do you show up at the employer's office wearing, your yoga pants and your active top? You don't do that because that's suicidal. That would kill your chances to get that job ever, even if you're, a genius. So what you do is you dress for success. Same thing with the business school. Business casual, or you can wear a tie if you want to. It never hurts. And for the female candidates, I would say definitely put some makeup on if that's your thing, but don't go overboard with it. Get your hair in order. Dress for success. Have a jacket, a blazer handy because you never know. Usually admissions officers dress up, so you might want to show the same. So you make a good first impression. Arrive on time. Don't be too late unless there's a storm out there or something. If you need to cancel beforehand, not 10 minutes before the interview because their time is also precious. It's not just your time, their time as well. They might be interviewing another candidate. No shows are never good. Have a fresh copy of your resume handy. 99% of the time they're going to have your resume, but just in case, bring one. Maybe they're going to invite in a guest, or maybe you're going to meet with the director of the career center. Who knows? They might want to give you a tour. Things can go really, they can improvise on the day of the interview. So have a fresh copy handy and answer the questions directly. Now, time is valuable and you need to give them as much information as possible in a very short amount of time. As I said, they allocate about 30 minutes. If everything goes well, if they have follow-up questions, they might go over 30 minutes, but they really want to wrap this up in 30 minutes because they want to be fair. They spend about 30 minutes with every single candidate. So the questions are designed in a way for them to get to know you, okay? Walk them through the process. Don't get lost in technical details because the person who's interviewing you is an admissions professional. Yes, we're knowledgeable in a lot of areas because we are in touch with the Career Center very closely. Our students come from diverse backgrounds, so we know a little bit about everything. But as you can appreciate, we don't know all the technical details, and nor do we care, to be honest. So walk them through the process. Keep this in mind because this will go back to every single question. Number 2, do your research. Schools do a fantastic job of putting information out there. It's available to you. Just make an effort. Get to know the school. There are ambassador programs. Talk to an ambassador. Not everybody can visit the school they're interviewing because you might be living in a different country. So what you can do is you can connect with a current student or an alum and you can get to know about the school. Follow them on social media. Get to know what they're doing. Get to know more about their events. Not just academics, extracurricular activities as well. They're equally important. Follow their careers social media if they have a separate one. Definitely take a look at their employment report. Get to know them a little bit. So let's look at the questions. The very first question I used to ask is, tell me about yourself. This is really not groundbreaking. Every school starts the same way. Every employer starts the same way. I see this question more like an icebreaker than anything else because most of the time, the candidate will be very nervous. And I understand that. I respect that. And believe it or not, sometimes I get nervous too. And who knows what mood the people are in. So tell me about yourself question is a very tricky question because in this question, you have to keep in mind that you can speak only for about 2 minutes, tops 3 minutes if you have a very interesting story you want to share. You don't want to dominate the time and you certainly don't want to turn this into a monologue. So have your answer concise. Talk about your school, what you studied at school. Talk about your work experience. Talk about your community involvement. Talk about your volunteer job. Talk about your hobbies. If you have a family, talk about that. If you're into sports, definitely talk about those. Give them something outside of the application because they read your essay. They read your resume. They went over it many times. So they know the technical components of your candidacy. Give them something qualitative. And remember, 2 minutes tops. It's like an elevator pitch. If you talk about yourself for 10 minutes, do you think they're going to have any interest in continuing the conversation? Because number one, it's not a conversation, it's a monologue. So, and nobody wants to sit there and just listen for 10 minutes straight. So after that question comes the tricky questions, the why question. Why our school? Why our program? Now, here is where you show your research. If you've done your research, you're going to have a fantastic answer because you're going to talk about the culture. You're going to talk about the academics, the extracurricular activities they have, the exchange programs, the field trips, or any other. The summer internship is another one that you can talk about. So you can talk about the employers recruiting at school, why you're interested, how that program, how that school will contribute to your growth, and what you want to pursue, what you're passionate about. Definitely talk about that because seeing that passion, seeing that excitement will change the mood of the interview, definitely. So why school? Is it the reputation of the school? Is it the location of the school? Is it the academics? Is it the jobs? Are you a career changer? And is that school really good at in your aspired career? So talk about those. Why program? You can talk about the professors, you can talk about the nature of the program, You can talk about the fact that it might be a full-time MBA program. So you might say like, you know what, I don't have a business background. I don't have a business degree, so I need a 2-year program. If it's a 1-year program, you can say, you know what, I'm really not a career changer and I studied business already, but I do need this MBA to hone my leadership skills and to learn more about, to build on my existing experience. But I want to do it in a fast track manner. So you can talk about that. That's a safe answer. Now, the next 2 questions are very tricky because those questions can be a deal breaker. So the first one, tell me about your biggest accomplishment. This is your only opportunity to brag, but again, in a measured manner. Don't lose yourself. Don't get too full of yourself because that's not a good sign. Nobody wants an arrogant student in the program. Definitely take ownership of the accomplishment, shine through, but don't forget to give credit to your coworkers because they helped you with that accomplishment. Unless you're working on your own and you don't have any teammates, that's not possible. You have clients, you have vendors. There's always somebody that is helping you. So definitely give credit to them. Don't forget, because all MBA programs are team-based and almost all of the assignments are team-based. So they wanna admit a candidate who's good with other people and who are team players. So focus on the process. Don't get into all the technical details. They don't need to know that. They want to know the process. Who were you before the accomplishment? What happened during the accomplishment? And what have you learned afterwards? How did it change you? Did it make you a better person? Did you actually explore an area that you need to improve on further so that in the future you can do a better job? Definitely focus on those. The second question is similar, but in the opposite direction. They will want to ask you your areas of improvement. So here's what you do. You look at your skill set. You look at your aspired career. You look at what the school has to offer, and you find a connection. Don't give cliche answers. Don't say stuff like, oh, I'm a perfectionist. You know how many times I heard that and I was like, anything else? That's exactly what I asked the candidate. They said, oh, I'm a perfectionist. And I'm like, is there anything else you want to share? Because that's a cliche. I heard it like 100 times. I'm not interested. Everybody wants to do a good job. That's not setting you apart. But if you do your research and if you say, you know what, this is my experience, this is my skill set, but this is where I want to be. And this program is my bridge. This is the area of improvement. Talk about the courses they offer, or talk about the internship opportunities that you can get. So that's how you answer. Again, focus on the process. Don't give them an example where it's too technical and too miserable, because that will bring down the mood of the interview. Remember, you want to show them that you're passionate about the program. You're excited. You want to do this. So give them that. That's how you answer that question. Now, another question is about where you see yourself in the next 5 years, or what do you want to do after the program? Now, these are hypothetical questions, and it's good to be aspirational, and you can share that. You can talk about your new chosen careers. You want to say like, you know what, I want to explore more about finance. I want to get into finance, but I'm not sure if it's a good fit for me. So the 2-year program will give me that competitive advantage. I'm going to get to know more about finance. I'm going to speak with alum in the field. I might even be lucky enough to get an internship so I can test the waters myself. And that's where I see myself. It's okay to be specific because the school will not hold you accountable for that. If it's a 2-year program, there's definitely room for flexibility. You can change your mind. You might do an internship in that field and you might say, you know what, I'm going to go back to my old career. This is not something I'm interested in. So definitely it's okay to be very specific or to be more open-ended. Now, if you're applying for a 1-year program, though, it's a different story. They will want you to be more focused. So they will want you to be more prepared to hit the ground running. So you might want to make that distinction depending on the program you're applying for. And lastly, I want to talk about the next steps and when they ask you, do you have any questions? Now, here's the thing. When I interview candidates, if they came to me and said, oh, I don't have any questions, I did my research, And in my mind, I'd be like, really? You don't have one single question? There's a live person in front of you from that school you're supposedly interested in, and you have no questions for that person. That looks very poorly on you. Always have a question. Having said that, the question matters. What type of question? If you ask them about the tuition, that's a deal breaker. Forget about that interview. You're done. Have insightful questions. You might have a follow-up question from a campus visit, or a chat with a current student, or maybe you attended an event and you met with somebody and you can have a follow-up question on that. One time we had a new dean at the business school, and I got this question over and over. While the question itself was a cliche, but it was a fair question. All of my candidates asked about the new vision of the school, where the school is headed, and who's the new dean, what does he want to do with the school. I answered that question probably a couple hundred times, but you know what? I never got bored because every candidate was different, and it was a fair question. So don't ask about the tuition, don't ask about scholarships, don't ask about immediate feedback on your interview. Premature, very premature. So how did I do? What am I supposed to say? You're right in front of me. And the answer is always a cliche. I'm interviewing a lot of candidates, and the final decision will be made by the admissions committee. We were able to cover a lot of areas. Thank you for your time. Wrapped up. That's it. So you definitely want to leave the interviewer with a positive impression, and you want to keep the energy high. They interview back to back. Like sometimes I had like 10, 15 interviews in one day, and it can be very daunting. So try to empathize with the interviewer. Maybe you have only one interview that day, but that person might have gone through 10 already by the time they get to meet you. And this is the nature of the job. Not that they complain. I never complained because I enjoyed these interviews. But if the energy is low, don't read too much into it. Try your best to bring it up. Give them something interesting and get to know them. This is your opportunity. The interviews are very important. You got to get to know them because you're going to make a very big decision about your life. So that's all I have to share. Now, if you have any tricky questions in mind, any questions that you heard in the portals or somewhere, but you don't know how to answer, definitely drop the question in the comments section. I'll make sure to get back to you with a good answer. I promise you that. And if you have any other questions, you can always leave me a comment and I'd be happy to answer your questions. I'm on TikTok as well. You can find that my TikTok handle in the comments of this video. So definitely follow me there as well. You can get some more good tips. So remember, you got this. It's in your hands to give them a fantastic interview and make a fantastic impression on the interviewer. Just do your research, prep well, take them seriously, show them that you care about the program. Good luck, guys, and let me know if you need any help. Drop in the comments section. Take care. Thanks for watching.